Hello everybody, this is our DMR check for Monday. So, starting with number 1. Okay, we're finding the sum. Okay, finding the sum we're adding two 3-digit numbers. Here we go. Okay, adding two 3-digit numbers. Okay, I'm going to separate my hundreds, tens, and ones. Okay, always starting in my ones place. I have 1 plus 9 equals 10. If I have anything higher than 9, that's a 2-digit number and it needs to be regrouped. So I have 10. I'm going to separate my tens and ones, put my 0 here, and regroup my 1 here. Okay, so I have 9 plus 2, that's 10, 11. And one more is 12. So 12 is a 2-digit number. I need to separate my tens and ones and regroup. I put my 2 here and my 1 10 up here. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. If I was to regroup my 1 here, it would just fall right back down. There's no thousands place, so I put my 10 here, separating my thousands and my hundreds with a comma. The sum for number 1 is 1,020. Okay, so give yourself a star for skill number 1 if you got that correct. Okay, going on to skill number 2, we're finding the difference. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem, separating my hundreds and tens and my tens and my ones. Always starting in my ones place. I have 1. Do I have enough to take away 9? I do not, so I need to go next door and get 10 more. So my 7 becomes a 6. I add that 10 onto the 1 that I already have, which it becomes 11. Scratch that out. So I no longer have 7 here, it's 6, and I no longer have 1 here, it's 11. Now I have enough to take away 9. So 11 take away 9 is 2. Finished in my ones place. I'm going to move on to my tens place. 6. Do I have enough to take away 2? Yes, I do. I don't need to regroup. So that's 4. Moving on to my hundreds place. I have 6. Do I have enough to take away 3? Yes, I do. 6 take away 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. The difference for number 2 is 342. Give yourself a star for number 2 if you got that correct. Okay, so this one has kind of changed. Okay, our skill number 3. It's kind of hard because I have to have the problem on my computer as I have my work here. Okay, so the problem is, it says Miss Snow has 325 brown goats and 286 white goats. How many goats does Miss Snow have in all? Okay, so we always read our problem at least 2 times. So I'm going to read it again. Miss Snow has 325 brown goats and 286 white goats. How many goats does Miss Snow have in all? Now I start to visualize what is happening in this number story. It's just like a story that we would read, any kind of story, a book. But it has to do with numbers, and there's a problem that we need to solve. It asks a question. So Miss Snow, I'm picturing Miss Snow, and she has 325 brown goats. That's a lot of goats. So I'm picturing all these brown goats, and then she has 286 white goats. That's a lot of white goats, but it's asking us how many goats does Miss Snow have in all? In all. Okay, so I'm going to write my question. There's a bunch of brown goats, a bunch of white goats, and it wants to know how many in all. So how many goats in all? So how many, I'm going to abbreviate B for brown and W for white in all. So how many brown and white goats in all? Now I need to go sentence by sentence and take the important information out. So it says Miss Snow has 325 brown goats, and I'm going to stop my sentence there. I need to know right now, that's important information, that brown goats, there are 325 that are brown. The second part of the sentence says, and 286 white goats. So white, so I'm going to put a W for white, and 286. Okay, that's pretty important information that I need to know to solve the problem. How many does she have in all? So, okay, so now I'm visualizing the problem. She's got a bunch of goats, brown and white. want to know how many all together. So if I'm joining and I'm finding how many in all together, I'm joining the brown and the white goats together, I'm going to need to add. So my plan is that I'm going to, this is where I make my plan in the second square. I'm going to add, and I think the strategy that I'm going to use is to stack. I'm going to stack my numbers here. Okay, if you would like to use place value for your strategy, or a number line, an open number line, that's fine, or draw a picture. Whatever strategy is best for you to solve this problem would work. But for me, I think the most simple way to do this would be to stack my numbers and add them together. I'm really good at regrouping now because we've been practicing for so long. So I'm going to stack my numbers. I have my brown goats. I know I have 325 brown goats. So 325. And white goats, I have 286. Now I have to be very careful here to make sure I stack my numbers nice and neat and align my hundreds and my tens and my ones so I don't get confused. So be neat. And we know, just like above here, we always start in our ones place. So starting in my ones place, I have 5 plus 6, that's 11. Do I need to regroup? I do. That's higher than 9. It's a 2-digit number, so I have to regroup here. So I'm going to separate my tens and my ones. I'm going to put my 1 here and my 110 up here. I know that 2 and 8 are partners of 10. Okay, so I'm going to have 10 and one more is 11. That's 11 again. I've got to regroup again. So that's 11. Okay, and 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 2 more is 6. Okay, so my sum here is 611. Okay, so in my last square here, I have to think about, is that reasonable? Is that a reasonable answer? The question was how many black and white goats in all? If I have 325 brown goats and 286 white goats, would that make sense to have 6? Yes. If I was to subtract here, I would have a lower number and it wouldn't make sense. So yes, that does make sense. Also, I could take my sum and I could subtract one of my numbers and get the last number. So if I take my sum 611 and I subtract 286, just to double check myself, okay, I would have to regroup here. I don't have enough to take away 6, so I'd have to come here, and this one would become 0, and this would become 11. So I have 11 minus 6 would be 5. Then I have 0 here to take away 8. That's not enough. I'd have to go next door and get 10 more. My 6 would become a 5, and I have to add that 10 on. So I'd have 10 take away 8, which would become 2. And then I would have 5 take away 2, which would be 3. So 325. That matches my other number here that I started with, and I know it's super messy, but 325. So that way I know that I added correctly. I can always check by reversing and subtracting. Okay, our last skill here is we go back to fractions. We're spiraling fractions. And you have to look at your slide for this one to see how many equal parts are in each shape. For A, there are 3 equal parts. So for A, it says how many equal parts are in each shape. For A, I would put 3. There are 3 equal parts. Okay, for B, there are 2 equal parts. And you can see, I think, okay, looking at A, B, and C. A, there are 1, 2, 3 equal parts. B, there are 1, 2. C, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So for C, I'm going to put 4 equal parts. And D, I'm going to count them up. I hope you can see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. So for D, I have 8 equal parts. Okay, guys, that's your DMR for Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Good job.